Sales is the most lucrative skill in the world, period. The problem is most sales advice out there today is outdated, cheesy, and could even keep you from the deals that can make all the difference in your career. This is the No BS Sales School, a podcast for entrepreneurs and salespeople who want to master the skill of selling without all the BS. Welcome to the No BS Sales School. I'm your host, Walker McKay. I want to talk about something today that I think a lot of us do really badly, or actually not badly, we just don't do it at all, but it's so damn important. And I will point at myself for this. And so this is some self-pointing, but it's asking our best customers for referrals. Asking them to call somebody else for us and see if that person would be open to taking our phone call, right? That's the best kind of referral, is actually an introduction. And it's one of the things that I have a process for, like everything else, that if you follow the process, it works very well. It helps you build a real bond with your prospect and understand your prospect better. It helps them help you. So what I thought I'd do today was kind of share some tactical stuff about the best way to do that. Now, before I go to the tactical stuff, the statistics from the sales community about how often we ask for referrals really is disastrous. The stats show, and I don't know where they got the stats from, but that less than 2% of salespeople in the last year admitted that they asked for 2 or more referrals. Less than 2%. That's terrible. Isn't it funny how we're willing to call people that don't know us and ask them to do business with us, but we're not willing to call people that are already doing business with us that I guess trust us. We want to make sure they trust us and like us enough to refer us to somebody else they know. The stats are that 20% of your existing customers, clients are already probably talking about you to other people and encouraging people to use you. 20% already are. The other 20% either aren't, or they wouldn't be effective. Nobody would believe them, or they wouldn't do anything that person did. Y'all know people like that, right? But our opportunity really is in the 60% that are left who want to help us and will if we ask them to and tell them how. To deal with the first 20% who are actually talking about us, it's a help to them to really understand who our ideal clients are, who we're looking for, what a good referral is. I won't dig in too much into the philosophy. Let's move into the actual tactics of this. As you remember, one of our main tenets around here at No BS Sales School is ask, don't tell. Ask, don't tell. Our job is not to educate our clients or educate our prospects, right? It's to understand. Is to learn ourselves. We're the ones that need to be educated. If somebody's not happy with your service, if they don't like what you're doing, are they a good person, you think? Is that the right time to ask somebody for referrals? I would say the answer is no. Absolutely not. It's not, right? But how do we know that unless we ask? I mean, I guess if they let us know that. But here's the thing. Your prospects aren't thinking about you all the time. Your clients aren't thinking, or certainly your prospects aren't, but your clients aren't thinking about you either. And so to kind of hit them cold, it's a problem. It's a problem for you. So here's what I want you to think about. After you've made a sale, after you've helped them with something, after you have, done something good, whatever they've paid you a compliment, is a great time to ask somebody for referrals. And here's what it sounds like. It's about 5 questions. Question number 1, and here's how I might phrase it. Hey, tell me something. This might be a strange question, but am I helping you? Am I helping you, or have I helped you? And it's a very vulnerable question, right? And here's the thing, that vulnerability, it brings you closer to your prospect. There's a humanness of the vulnerability that actually brings you closer to the prospect. Hey, tell me something. Have I helped you? Question number 1. Question number 2 is how? I'm always curious, how do you see what I'm doing to help you? What are those things? Here's the cool thing about that question. We assume that they think that we've helped them with this and that's what they really like and want to continue with that. You will be surprised when you ask them, how do you see that I've helped you? And let them tell you. By the way, that's the shit you need to know. That's the real stuff, right? What they think, how you've helped them. It's really important. Why is that important to know? Because you want to do more of that. What they think is important, what they think is helpful. And then the third question Maybe you can preface this with, sounds kind of weird, I know, but is that a big deal? Is that a big deal? You're like, Walker, that's the strangest thing I've ever heard. Well, let's just pretend you sell forklifts or something, right? And you sell forklifts, you sold this guy a couple of forklifts, and you go to him and you said, hey man, tell me something. I'm always curious. I want to make sure I'm in tune with my customers. Have I helped you? And the ideal response would be, hell yeah, you've helped me. Been great, been super helpful. Okay, well, thanks for telling me that. Do you mind if I ask you how? He says, well, I mean, you're very communicative. You let me know what was going on. You helped me pick the right piece of equipment. And then all along the way, you let me know what was going on, when it'd be delivered, and I know it'll be well taken care of. And you say, okay, man, thank you for telling me that. I really do appreciate that. Sounds like a dumb question, but is that a big deal? And so he might say, well, hell yeah, it's a big deal. The last guy I worked with, I had no shit. He didn't call me back. He was a pain in the ass. It was da-da-da-da. I never trusted him, blah, 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 blah. Well, by the way, if that's the truth, when do you want to know that, right? That's not a question. I'm asking you, a listener, when do you want to know what it is that you're doing that they think you're helping, and is that a big deal? Now, if they say, I'm not so sure, or no, that's not that big of a deal, well, when do you want to know that? I want to know right damn now. Because there's something right now I need to fix way before I ask for a referral. If there's a problem in the way that we've been servicing them or treating them or handling their situation, I want to know that right now. So even if you don't ask for a referral, it's a great way to get a report card. Tell me something. Am I helping you? How? Is that a big deal? Right. And when they answer these questions, when they say, am I helping you? I want you to say, thank you so much. And when they say, you're helping me because of A, B, and C, I want you to say, man, that's great to know. I really appreciate that. And make notes. And then when you say, is that a big deal? And it's impossible to answer that question intellectually. It's got to be an emotional response, because big deal is an emotional thing. People do stuff emotionally and then they justify it intellectually, but this reminds them in their own words, in their own time, yeah, you're helping me, and that's a damn big deal. And if they don't say that, it's not a great place to ask for referrals, and you probably have a relationship problem. So they say, yeah, it's a big deal, blah, blah, blah. And you say, thank you so much for telling me that. Finally, you learn what it is. And then you might turn around and say, do you know anybody else who might think those things you just said to me, communication, helping pick the product, being somebody you can trust? Do you know anybody else who might think that would be important too? Who might think it was a favor if you introduced me to them? Anybody come to mind? And guess what? The response you're going to get 95% of the time is, well, I'm sure I do, but I can't think of anybody right now. That's fine. It's a great response. And here's what I want you to say. Just move on. Walk them around their world. Maybe it's somebody that's a friend of yours. Maybe they are another business owner like you, and they sell stuff to you, or maybe you sell stuff to them. Maybe it's one of your suppliers. Maybe it's somebody that works in another division of your company or in another location. Walk them around their world. And if they don't come up with anybody, say, hey, listen, no big deal. Let's figure out how to ask. But if they do, two ways this can happen, right? Some people, very optimistic, lovely, we love these people. They say, I know 5 people. Hell yeah, I'm happy. I know 5 people. Here's what I want you to do. Back them down. Say, man, I appreciate that. If you could only pick one, the one that would be most likely to take my call based solely on your recommendation, which one would you recommend? Which one should we start with? Here's the thing. There's some of those people, and they are optimistic and they're great and we love them, and they say they know 5 people, and maybe they do. But here's what happens a lot of time. They've kind of overstepped. They've gone beyond their, outside of their comfort zone. What happens is when you hang up the phone after getting the names of these people, and they're supposed to call them to see if that person's open to taking your phone call, they're going to hang up and go, oh shit, I know Jim and John, but I don't know Susan and Bob and Fred very well. This is kind of awkward. They're going to think it's weird that I'm calling them. And you know what? Then they'll do nothing. And then it becomes awkward between you, because that person feels guilty because they promised 5 and they really only know 2. And really only one of those is probably the right one. So they won't do anything. And then you're awkward because you don't want to bug them about it. So here's what you do. Somebody says, I know 5, or I know 1, I know 2. Hey, we'll take the pressure off of you. Let's start with 1. Who's the one that you know the best that'd be most likely to take my phone call based purely on your recommendation? And they say, Jim. And you say, okay, great. Why Jim? Well, blah, 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 blah. Okay, makes sense. That's good. What would you say to Jim to see if he'd be open to taking my call? Here's where you get to coach them a little bit. I mean, how often, I'll tell you a story from my early days in this business years and years ago. I asked somebody for a referral and they gave me a guy's name they'd reached out to. And I called this guy and said, hey, tell me something. What did Jim tell you to make you think, you should take my call? He said, well, he said you were new and desperate for people to call. It's not exactly the referral I was looking for, right? But my fault, I didn't coach him. So what would you say to that person to see if they'd be open to taking my call? And, they'll probably give you deer in the headlights for a second, huh? And you say, well, could you say that we helped you with this? Could you say we've helped you with that? Could you tell them these things? And oftentimes they go, well, yeah. And you say, okay, great. You do this. You reach out to that person, have a conversation. If they want to talk to me, let me know and send me their information. I'll call them. If they say no, that's cool. Just let me know that as well. And here's the last follow-up question. When do you think you'd talk to them? And they'll say, Tuesday. And you say, okay, great. So here's what I'll know. If it's Wednesday and I hadn't heard back from you, I'll assume they said no. Is that okay? You're setting the whole thing up. Here are those questions in order one more time. Tell me something. Have I helped you? Number 2, how? Number 3, is that a big deal? Number 4, who else do you know that might think those things you just said would be helpful or great too? And then maybe it's somebody you work with in another division. Maybe it's somebody that's in the same industrial park where you work. Maybe it's somebody that you know from a conference or from a business owners group, right? Walk them around their world. And then the last one is, I guess next to last is, so which one of those do you know the best that'd be most likely to take my call based upon your recommendation? And then the last question is, what would you say to them? What would you say to them to see if they'd be open to take my call? I guess the real last question is, hey, what day would you call them? If I hadn't heard from you by then, is it okay? I assume they said no. Let's take the pressure off. This is a process to follow to help people help you. Now, if you're really on your A game and you want to really set yourself up for success, after you close a deal with them, maybe even the first deal, or they sign up with you, the time to say something right after they've signed the agreement is, man, I appreciate this. You can trust me to take care of you. At some point in the future, I may come to you. I'm going to come to you and ask who you know, who you care about, that you might be able to call and see if they'd be willing to take my call. I'm going to ask you if you'd be willing to give me a referral, but only after I have performed at or above the level you expect. Is that okay if I do that? And it's wild if you manage people's expectations at the first sale, right at the first sale, that this is something you're going to do in the future, maybe when it's delivered, maybe when you start, maybe it's 6 months down the road, whatever that is. Sometimes more than 20%. Well, next time you call them, talk to them and say, hey, I got a referral. You said you were going to ask me, and I got this guy that I talked to, right? Without you having to go through the process. You want to make more money? You want to have a better business? You want to make your clients love you? You want to do the right thing? Use referral process. Ask for the right business. Explain to people what you're looking for, how to refer you. And guess what? You both win. I'm Walker McKay with No BS Sales. Commit to asking one of your clients, one of your customers for a referral this week. Let me know what happens. Thanks for listening to the No BS Sales School podcast. If you're struggling to close deals, then I want to invite you to take my free mini course, where you'll learn the 7 most expensive sales mistakes that will cost you time, money, and credibility. So be sure to click the link in the show notes or go to www.7salesmistakes.com. That's the number 7salesmistakes.com. Thanks again for listening to the No BS Sales School podcast.